I want to tell you about the most misunderstood word in the entire vocabulary of human achievement. Successful people think differently about this. That word is faith. Most men, when they hear it, think of religion, of belief in things that cannot be proven, of the surrender of reason to something beyond reason. And so they file it away as something that belongs in church on Sunday morning and has nothing to do with the practical business of building a life. They are wrong. Not about the religious dimension of faith. I have no argument with that. But about what faith is in the context of achievement. About what it does, how it works, and why every man who has ever built something extraordinary has operated, whether he called it faith or not, from exactly this principle. Faith, in the context I am going to teach you today, is not belief in the absence of evidence. It is action in the absence of guarantee. It is the willingness to move, to commit, to invest, to build. Before the outcome is certain, before the path is fully visible, before the evidence of success has arrived to give you permission to proceed. And it is one of the most important distinctions I have ever drawn in all my years of studying and teaching the principles of success. Because the man who waits for certainty before he acts will wait his entire life. Certainty does not come before action. It comes, when it comes at all, as a result of action. The man who understands this, who acts before the certainty arrives, and trusts the mechanism of his own committed effort to produce results, is operating from applied faith. And applied faith is the fourth law. Let me tell you what I mean when I say applied, because this word is doing a great deal of work in the name of this principle. The word applied distinguishes this kind of faith from two other things that also travel under the name of faith, but produce entirely different results. The first thing it is not is passive faith, the faith that believes without acting, the faith that says, I trust that things will work out, and then waits for things to work out without making any particular effort to cause them to. This is not applied faith. This is wishful thinking wearing the costume of a spiritual virtue, and it produces, reliably and inevitably, exactly nothing. The second thing applied faith is not is blind faith, the faith that ignores evidence, that refuses to update its understanding when reality offers correction, that mistakes stubbornness for conviction and rigidity for commitment. The man operating from blind faith keeps doing the same thing, regardless of what the results are telling him. He confuses the purpose, which should be held with absolute commitment, with the method, which should always remain open to revision in the light of actual results. Applied faith is neither of these. Applied faith is the state of mind in which you have identified your definite purpose with complete clarity. You have made the decision to pursue it with your full commitment, and you take action, organized, persistent, intelligent action, in the direction of that purpose, even when the outcome is not yet visible and the guarantee of success has not yet arrived. It is the combination of complete inner conviction with complete outer action. Both are required. The inner conviction without the outer action is passive faith. Beautiful, perhaps, but sterile. The outer action without the inner conviction is mechanical effort, exhausting, scattered, and incapable of sustaining itself through the inevitable difficulties of any serious pursuit. Applied faith brings them together. The burning inner certainty that your purpose is real, that the path exists even when you cannot yet see it, that your committed effort will produce results, combined with the daily, disciplined, organized action that makes that certainty operational in the world. This combination is one of the most powerful forces available to a human being. Let me tell you about Thomas Edison, because his life is the most vivid demonstration of applied faith that I have encountered in all my research. Edison's definite purpose, the purpose that organized his entire professional life for decades, was the practical harnessing of electricity for human use. Not electricity as a scientific curiosity to be demonstrated in laboratories, Electricity as a working, practical force that would transform how human beings lived and worked and experienced their world. This purpose was not, when Edison formed it, a reasonable ambition by the standards of the people around him. The scientific establishment of his era had conclusions about what was and was not possible in the domain of electrical technology. Edison's specific ambitions, particularly his conviction that he could create a practical incandescent light, were widely considered to be beyond what was achievable. He attempted to create the electric light more than 10,000 times. 10,000 times. Each attempt failed. Each attempt produced a result that was not the result he needed. Each attempt was, by the conventional definition, a failure. And each failure, for Edison, was simply information. He did not interpret the failures as evidence that his purpose was wrong. He never wavered in his conviction that what he was trying to do could be done. He simply concluded, each time, that this particular approach did not work, and moved to the next approach. His purpose remained fixed, his commitment remained total, his action remained organized and persistent and daily. He was asked, at some point in that long series of unsuccessful attempts, whether he was discouraged by his failures. He said he had not failed once. He had successfully identified 10,000 approaches that did not work. This is applied faith in its most vivid expression. The absolute inner certainty that the purpose is real and achievable, combined with the absolute willingness to keep acting, to keep trying, adjusting, learning, and trying again, regardless of how many times the immediate attempt does not produce the desired result. Edison eventually found the approach that worked. The practical incandescent light became real. The world he had envisioned, a world illuminated by electricity, began to come into existence, not because of luck, not because circumstances finally aligned in his favor, because he applied faith in the most literal sense. He put it to work, daily, through organized action sustained by unwavering conviction, until the work produced its result. I want to explain the mechanism through which applied faith actually operates, because it is not mystical, though it has sometimes been described in mystical terms. It operates through identifiable psychological and behavioral channels that, once understood, make the principle immediately more accessible and more practically applicable. The first channel is what applied faith does to your perception. When you operate from genuine inner conviction about your purpose, when you truly believe at a deep level that what you are pursuing is real and achievable, your perception of the world around you changes in ways that are measurable and consequential. You begin to notice things you did not notice before. Solutions that were always present but invisible to the eyes of the uncertain man become visible to the eyes of the committed one. Opportunities that would have been filtered out of your awareness by the constant noise of doubt begin to reach your conscious attention because your conviction has programmed your mind to look for them. This is not magic. It is the operation of the reticular activating system, the neural filtering mechanism that determines what information reaches your conscious awareness out of the millions of bits your senses take in every second. Conviction programs this filter, and the man whose conviction is total has a filter set to find what he needs, while the man whose conviction is uncertain has a filter set to find evidence of his uncertainty. This difference in perception produces a real, measurable difference in the opportunities each man encounters. Not because the world is different for the two men, because they are looking at the same world through fundamentally different filters. The second channel is what applied faith does to your action. Certainty changes how you act. The man who is certain of his purpose moves differently from the man who is uncertain. He speaks differently. He makes decisions differently. He recovers from setbacks differently. He approaches people differently. with the ease and directness of someone who knows where he is going and why. This change in behavior is visible to other people, and people respond to conviction. They are drawn toward the man who knows what he is doing and why, in ways they often cannot articulate, but that are entirely real in their effects. The opportunities that come to the certain man, the partnerships, the resources, the support, come in part because his certainty is recognizable, and because recognizable certainty attracts people who want to be part of something that is going somewhere. The third channel is what applied faith does to your persistence. Persistence, the sustained effort through difficulty that every serious achievement requires, is enormously more available to the man who operates from genuine conviction than to the man who is merely hoping for the best. Hoping gives up when the difficulty is sufficient. Conviction does not, because conviction is not dependent on the immediate evidence of success. It is grounded in something deeper than results, in the clarity of the purpose and the understanding of the mechanism. The man who understands why his effort will produce results, and who believes in that understanding at a fundamental level, can sustain his effort through failures and setbacks and discouragement that would stop the man who is merely hoping. This difference in persistence, compounded over months and years, produces differences in outcomes so large that they can look, from the outside, like the products of entirely different levels of ability or luck. They are not. They are the products of entirely different levels of conviction, applied to the same level of effort over the same period of time. Applied faith sustains persistence. Persistence produces results. This is the mechanism. Now, I want to address something that I believe is the most common obstacle to developing applied faith. The obstacle that prevents most men from ever fully accessing the power of this principle. That obstacle is the demand for certainty before commitment. Most men will not commit fully to a purpose until they are certain it will succeed. They want proof before investment. They want evidence before action. They want a guarantee before they give themselves fully to the pursuit. This demand is understandable. It feels rational. It feels like prudent risk management. But it is, in the context of any significant achievement, a fundamental misunderstanding of how the process actually works. Certainty does not precede commitment. It follows it. The evidence that your purpose is achievable does not arrive before you commit to pursuing it. It arrives as a result of pursuing it. The path does not reveal itself before you step onto it. It reveals itself one step at a time to the person who is already walking. This is not a call to recklessness. I am not suggesting you abandon all assessment of your situation and your resources and the realistic prospects for your approach. Accurate thinking, which I will address in its own right, is an essential companion to applied faith. But accurate thinking tells you what is real about your current situation and your realistic prospects. Applied faith is what allows you to move forward from that accurate assessment even when the ultimate outcome remains uncertain, even when you cannot guarantee success, even when the path is not fully visible. The man who will not act without a guarantee will never act in any situation that matters. Because in any situation that matters, in any pursuit worthy of your full commitment, the guarantee is never available in advance. It is earned through the quality and consistency of your effort, not given in advance as a precondition for that effort. Let me talk about how to develop applied faith, because it is not simply a choice you make once. It is a state of mind that is built and maintained through specific practices. The first practice is clarity of purpose. You cannot have genuine faith in a vague direction. Applied faith requires a specific, clear, emotionally charged definition of what you are moving toward. The more precisely can define your purpose, not just intellectually but emotionally, in terms of what it means and why it matters, and what it will feel like to have achieved it, the more powerful the conviction you can build around it. This is why I say repeatedly that definiteness of purpose is the foundation of everything. You cannot build applied faith on vague ambition any more than you can build a house on fog. The foundation must be specific, clear, and solid. The second practice is autosuggestion. Your subconscious mind, which governs your emotional responses, your automatic behaviors, and the quality of conviction you can access at any given moment, does not distinguish between a thought held with sufficient repetition and emotional intensity and a reality it has directly experienced. It treats both as equally real. This means you can program your subconscious mind for faith by repeatedly, deliberately, emotionally feeding it the thoughts and images that correspond to the conviction you want to operate from. Daily practice of autosuggestion. The deliberate, repeated, emotionally engaged affirmation of your purpose and your faith in its achievement builds the depth of conviction that makes applied faith sustainable. I have practiced this myself throughout my life. I have seen it work in the lives of the men I have studied and the men I have taught. It is not a trick or a gimmick. It is the deliberate use of a mechanism. The subconscious mind's responsiveness to repeated, emotionally charged thought that every human being possesses and that most people use accidentally rather than deliberately. Use it deliberately. Feed your mind, every day, the thoughts that build conviction, and watch what that conviction does to the quality of your action and the sustainability of your persistence. The third practice is evidence gathering. Applied faith is not the denial of reality. It is the maintenance of conviction in the face of incomplete evidence. And one of the most effective ways to maintain that conviction is to actively seek out and deliberately dwell on the evidence that supports it. The history of human achievement is full of men who face circumstances as difficult as or more difficult than yours, who pursued purposes as ambitious as or more ambitious than yours, and who achieved results that no one predicted, and that seemed, at the time they were being built, to be beyond what was possible. Immerse yourself in these stories, not as inspiration in the shallow sense, as evidence, as data points in a pattern that demonstrates, with the reliability of a scientific finding, that your purpose is achievable by a committed human being operating from genuine conviction and organized, persistent action. This evidence exists in abundance. Seek it, study it. Let it build the foundation of a faith that is not blind but earned through the understanding of how the mechanism works and the recognition that you are capable of the same application that produced results in the men who came before you. I want to close with a direct, honest statement about what applied faith requires of you. It requires that you make a decision. Not a tentative exploration, not a trial run with an easy exit. A decision. The kind of decision that once made reorganizes everything around it. The kind of decision that you can look at a year from now or 10 years from now and identify as the point at which things became different. That decision is not the guarantee of success. Nothing guarantees success in advance, but it is the precondition for it. Because without the decision, without the full, committed, organized movement toward your definite purpose that applied faith makes possible, the mechanism that produces success never fully engages. Make the decision, apply the faith, take the action, and trust, not blindly but with the earned confidence of a man who understands the mechanism, that the consistent, organized, faith-driven pursuit of a definite purpose will produce results that the uncertain, uncommitted, minimum effort approach never can. The path reveals itself to the man who is walking. Begin walking.